At first glance, it looks like just another Roman ruin, cracked columns, fading inscriptions, the kind of beauty you expect to find in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley. But beneath the temple floor lies something no human structure has ever needed, a foundation made of 1,000-ton blocks, so tightly fitted that you can't slip a single sheet of paper between them. It's not just oversized, it's unexplained. And once scientists discovered what lies buried beneath this impossible foundation, the real story of Baalbek didn't just get stranger, it got deeper. A foundation that makes no sense. Every year, thousands of tourists arrive in Baalbek expecting Roman grandeur, soaring Corinthian columns, sun-bleached ruins, the echoes of an empire. And they find it. The Temple of Jupiter still dominates with its 6 surviving pillars, and fragments of imperial architecture litter the platform. But almost no one notices what it stands on, because beneath the Roman temple lies a platform that shatters all logic. It's not just big, it's inexplicably massive. Individual stone blocks in its base weigh up to 1,000 tons. That's more than 4 blue whales, or nearly 10 times the weight of the heaviest stones used in the Great Pyramid. Even modern mobile cranes would struggle to lift them, especially on terrain as rugged and undeveloped as the Lebanese highlands. What's most baffling is that these blocks were not laid on the ground. They were hoisted 7 meters high and positioned with a precision that rivals today's laser-guided instruments. The joints between the blocks are so tight that engineers have measured tolerances finer than those achieved in modern bridge construction. Useless foundation, not needed. It was something else entirely. An engineering choice so disproportionate to Rome's needs and so unparalleled in their own documented methods that it forces a troubling question. Who was he really building for? The empire's quietest riddle, Romans recorded everything in detail, obsessively, almost vainly. They engraved plaques to honor bridges, aqueducts, baths, and modest road repairs. Emperors like Hadrian and Augustus took immense pride in associating their names with engineering feats, leaving behind inscriptions that have endured for centuries. Yet at Baalbek, the region's grandest ancient monument still meets absolute silence today. No record, inscription, tablet, or parchment names the builders of its colossal foundations. Only the temple above does. A typical Roman-style example, yet nothing is said of the base. Odd, since it holds here the largest stones ever set in human history, called the Trilithon. 3 megaliths measure about 19 meters long, 4 meters high, 4 meters deep. Estimates place each block between 800 and 1,000 tons. For comparison, the heaviest stones in the Great Pyramid weigh about 80 tons. Stonehenge's iconic pillars max out at 25 tons. The Trilithon makes them seem like pebbles, and it's finely worked stone. They are fitted with surgical precision. No mortar, no adhesive, just stone meeting stone so tightly that even the most precise measuring instruments can't detect a gap. Dr. Jean-Pierre Adam, expert in Roman architecture, studied Baalbek's foundations for years. Yet studying the Trilithon, even he was stumped. He said it fit no Roman method. He admitted he couldn't tell who else could have built it, and he isn't alone either. Professor Daniel Lohman, with 4 decades of experience in civil engineering, analyzed the joints and stated that the tolerances were finer than those on most modern bridges, even using diamond-tipped tools and computer-guided equipment. And yet, these were supposedly Bronze Age builders, dragging unimaginable weights across steep hills. No steel, no hydraulics, no wheel could bear load. If the Romans didn't build the Trilithon and no one else left any record of it, then what civilization was it? The quarry frozen in time. Just 800 meters from the temple platform, a forgotten quarry holds the most glaring evidence that something at Baalbek went suddenly and inexplicably wrong. In 2014, joint German-Lebanese archaeologists returned there, expecting just a routine dig. Instead, they found a buried giant, an unfinished stone block, longer than a bus, partly exposed, fused to bedrock. Fully measured, it spanned 19 plus meters, weighing about 1,650 tons. That's heavier than 3 fully loaded Boeing 747s or the entire Statue of Liberty. Block was clean-cut, smooth-sided, precisely carved, clearly ready for transport. Yet it was never moved. It sat there, abandoned, intact for millennia. More disturbing was what was nearby. The pregnant woman's stone, another 1,000-ton megalith, sat nearby. Just as neglected beneath the 1,650-ton block, another stone was found even more massive, buried deeper down. It was as if the builders were aiming for ever larger dimensions toward an unknown goal, then abruptly stopping mid-stride. Why? These stones weren't mistakes. They weren't rejected. They were perfectly prepared for a monumental project. Moving them would have required titanic logistics, thousands of workers, synchronized pulling mechanisms, and coordination over rough terrain lacking flat roads. As suddenly as it began, the project halted. No harm, no fire, no war, tools down, silence. Not a slow decline or dying civilization, just a freeze frame. One exact instant when everything froze solid, and then Baalbek's mystery grew even darker. Whoever began this work had the skill and will to finish, until a still unexplained event suddenly forced total abandonment. A technology that shouldn't exist. While the sheer size of the Baalbek stones baffles engineers, the techniques used to cut and arrange them raise even deeper questions. Roman builders left characteristic traces on nearly all their construction sites: chisel marks, tool imprints, and joinery that form an identifiable signature across 3 continents. Yet Baalbek lacks signature. Dr. Gerhard H. Koch, a German engineer who meticulously studied the rock surface, discovered that the cutting patterns did not match Roman methods at all. Far from the usual chisel marks, these megaliths feature smooth surfaces and long, regular grooves, evidence of an abrasive cutting technique or wire saw technology that simply should not have existed 2,000 years ago. No archaeological remains indicate that the Romans or any other civilization of the time possessed such tools. But the disturbing find isn't in the quarry, it's the foundations. Lebanon sits on one of the most active seismic faults in the Mediterranean. Violent earthquakes have shaken the region for millennia. Roman columns collapsed before being rebuilt. Of the 54 original columns that crown the Temple of Jupiter, only 6 still stand, now supported by steel reinforcements. But what about the megalithic foundations located just below? They haven't moved, cracked, or shifted. Not at all. 3D laser scans showed why. Under Baalbek, blocks lock in a smart system, flexing slightly during quakes. The joints flex just enough to absorb seismic energy, then return to equilibrium without the slightest structural failure. Modern architects grasped this resilience fully only in the late 20th century. Thus the enigma sharpens. In antiquity, builders devised quake-proof joints with no mortar, metal, or modern science. They didn't just move stones of colossal weight, they anchored them in place with knowledge that shouldn't have existed. The secret beneath the stones. For centuries, scholars thought Baalbek held no more Roman temples, dizzying columns, and the trilithon. But in 1997, a team from Waseda University in Japan used ground-penetrating radar and electrical resistivity tests to probe the platform's substructure. Their find rewrote history. Under the vast foundation, radar detected huge, unexplained anomalies, massive subterranean structures extending beyond the visible platform. These were neither natural formations nor simple cavities. All signs showed deliberate building, voids, right angles, density shifts matching walls, rooms, layered masonry. And these structures were not superficial. They go so deep that they suggest the trilithon may be neither the first nor the largest layer. No official excavation followed. Funding dried up. The site remains unexplored. The underground structures untouched, buried under meters of ancient dust and political gridlock. But the implications are staggering. If there are even deeper megalithic layers still hidden, then everything we considered colossal at Baalbek might just be the tip of a much more monumental complex. This would explain the disproportionate scale. This unused foundation might not have been a finished product. It could be merely the second level above a buried first level. Redefines entire site. Not a Roman marvel, but a reused relic from a forgotten civilization building upward and underground. And if we have only seen the upper levels of this structure, what awaits us down there in the darkness of the depths? The legacy of the unknown. As we piece together the clues from Baalbek, a picture emerges, one that matches no known civilization. Romans built temples, not this foundation. They lacked cranes for 1,000-ton blocks, saws for ultra-smooth megalithic cuts, and seismic engineering know how to build platforms that survive earthquakes, even huge. And perhaps most telling of all, they never claimed to have done it. The weathering tells a completely different story. The trilithon blocks and the surrounding foundations show erosion consistent with thousands of years of additional exposure compared with the Roman structures directly above. The rain-carved grooves, wind abrasion, and lichen buildup suggest the base was exposed to the elements long before the first Roman soldier arrived in Lebanon. Archaeologists who once tried to fit Baalbek into the Roman timeline now admit the evidence does not line up. The construction methods are different. The scale defies reason. Abandonment is brutal. Rome's archives' silence isn't forgetfulness. A growing number of researchers suggest the Romans reused Baalbek. They would have found the platform in ruins, built on top of it, and left the deeper mysteries intact. The megalithic base was never designed to support Roman temples. It was meant to support something older, perhaps something vaster, more permanent, or more sacred than anything we can imagine. If true, Baalbek wasn't just a holy place. It was a remnant, the bequest of a civilization that vanished so completely that only stone too massive to erase remains. They carved into stone what time could not erase. Blocks heavier than aircraft, fitted more tightly than steel. Yet beneath each monument, we know may lurk a base we miss. Subscribe for untold stories, buried truths. And if this has made you question everything, share this video with someone who should be asking the same questions.